We are live. Welcome to my video. This is going to be my thoughts on Young Jedi Adventure, Season 2, Episode 4, Nubs' Big Mistake, the one he makes 4 times, and the Jedi Rescue. So the episode is rated, I want to say, 6+, something like that. So will this video be. There will be spoilers for the episode, and probably other Star Wars stuff, certainly of this show leading up to it. And yeah, as usual, quite good episodes. Definitely enjoyed the second story more than the first. Yeah, let's talk about the first ones. I think the show works better when one of the characters makes a mistake once or twice and then spends some time making up for it, instead of this thing of, yeah, making the same exact mistake 4 times in like 11 minutes and then just having a fairly easy time resolving it later. I considering the intended audience here is kids, I really think it's ideal that we get them to accept, if you make a mistake, it. I appreciate that the episode is in part about, the Nubs story is about, the important thing is what you do to make up for that mistake. But this idea of, you don't want to make the exact same mistake 4 times in such a short amount of time. And sometimes it takes a little while to fix a mistake. And I think other episodes have done a much better job of that than here. But yeah, 100% agreed. It is extremely important that we get away from this thing of like, oh, you made one mistake. Well, you're just terrible then. You will never be able to make this up. And more try to focus on, okay, but what do you do next? There is no person who has never made a mistake. There are, however, a lot of people who refuse to try to do something, and we actually make that worse by harping on, oh, you made a mistake, let's never stop bugging you about it, so, yeah. I think I get why Nubs is excited. I think it would have landed more if they had like established, oh, Poobians, I don't know, haven't really met a good Poobian or something like that, because it just feels like, okay, but everybody treats him well. Like, Wes doesn't like pirates, but he'll learn Poobian. Nobody really. I don't think there's been a single person who treated Nubs worse than, like, obviously the people who don't like the Jedi treat all of them badly. I don't offhand remember there being okay, I'm sorry if I don't remember everything from the show. I just it's not as well established as him being hungry, as Kai being overeager, as Liz getting distracted by animal life and such. Like, it just, yeah, honestly, make it a related to a flower. We know he loves flowers. That's much more well established than him feeling underrepresented. That was a weird, like, it felt, I don't know if this was maybe written by someone who didn't really know the character and just assumed, well, nobody else looks like him. I guess maybe he has a complex about that, because, like, representation is extremely important. But the show really needed to set that up as a theme if it's gonna do a story like that. Again, the way that, yeah, they've done stories where Kai gets overeager and that gets them into trouble. Liz will be too obsessed with an animal. That gets them into trouble. I think, yeah, it felt like, what's that word? Woke washing, something like that. It felt like a blatant attempt. Again, I agree with it. I agree with the message of it. Representation being extremely important, diversity being our strength. But you got to handle it at least a little bit better. Otherwise, this is the kind of thing, occasionally, broken clock theory. Occasionally, the anti-woke chuds are right. Sometimes woke stories are not handled particularly well, but that's not really an issue of the ideology. It's an issue of some people not believing the ideology but wanting to score points, and it's not worse to do that than it is to do with conservative messaging. So, it's interesting how these people, some of whom claim they're not conservative, they're just centrist, somehow they don't mind when it's conservative stories being done clearly just to score points by people who don't really understand. I don't know. I just can't figure out. It's almost like they're not logically consistent because they don't have any real beliefs other than wanting to make money and make a name for themselves off hating, an ideology that objectively makes the world a better place. I don't know. Uh, yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. Um, about the first story. I mean, let's see. There's definitely something. Um, yeah, it was. I did quite appreciate that it was very much like Nubs was a big part of solving the problem that he got them into by making the same mistake 4 times. Um, let's see. Right, I liked Nash, saying, "Oh well, at least it could be worse. At least the part didn't fall off, and it's not raining, and 2 weeks left until retirement." Uh, yeah, I think that pretty well. Right, yeah. I'm sorry. When Nubs wanted to take the ancient priceless lightsaber out of the ship after making the same mistake twice, and Yoda's just like, "Don't mind, I do." I'm sorry, what? Why are you still just like? Because like the thing you could have done is Yoda says maybe leave it here. I'm sorry. The impersonation is hard on the vocal cords. Is that what y'all call them? I don't use that term very much in English these days. Danish. Anyway, yeah. And Nubs, pretends he puts it away, but then actually sneaks it with him and gets in further trouble. It was kind of cute when Nash struggles to get past the rocks, and then Yoda just easily, I mean, it is essentially like the tutorial level of a action platformer, and yeah, I mean, once you've played a bunch of those, the tutorial seems super easy. Yeah, and also the fact that like the first several times it was like, oh, Nubs like really got them in trouble. They might, they end up crashing because of him. And then the third time he makes the mistake, he just gets some mud on his face and the lightsaber. And I mean, it's like that's nothing. That's the lightsaber's even fixed by the end of the episode. That yeah. Um yeah, really cool action when he's, when the plan you know comes together. Ah, has J.K. Rowling ruined that with that tweet gloating that she was able to hurt a lot of trans people by having a law changed? I hope not. I really love the A-Team. What I remember of it, at least. I will admit I don't remember that much of that show, but yeah, it was a big part of my like childhood and teenage years. So yeah. Anyway, I think that pretty well covers. Yeah. Always happy to hear David Tennant's voice. And he explains, oh, I can fix it. And then there's apparently like a small glitch in his programming because then he says, "I don't wish harm upon her. I just want her to shut up." Seriously, if I hadn't already loved the guy before he said that, I would have clinched it. But he was amazing on Jessica Jones, so yeah, he didn't have to do more than that for me to love him. Yeah, I think that covers the entire first story. So yeah, the second one, as these are wont to do, it states right away, and I appreciate, kids. It's good for this has been demonstrated. This has been studied. Child psychologists will tell you, children, the way they learn, repetition can be an important part of that. So, yeah, the moment that Wes says, once a pirate, always a pirate, like, if your age is in double digits, you immediately know, oh, okay, yeah, he's going to be disproven by the end of the episode. But again, super important message, and that's actually something, yeah, we got to get better at here in the West, at not prejudging people. I appreciate the irony. I do try to give conservatives a chance. They just flunk the test over and over. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, I did quite appreciate, Star Wars definitely needs to get better, and I think this is a step in the right direction. At this thing of, hey, maybe don't racially profile, maybe don't say that this entire group is just evil. And in this one, it's not so much race, it's class. And that is another issue, whether, you will never find a more depraved scum of the hive of scum and villainy. And it's a bunch of, like, lower class people, so that's, that's something I really appreciated in Last Jedi, that's what it's called. Reversing that, because, yeah, it is rich people making lives worse for the rest of us. It's really not poor people. Not to anywhere near the same extent. And anyone who's rich without, like, donating and doing everything they can to help poor people, yeah, by maintaining the status quo, by, leeching off the rest of us, yeah, they're making the world a much worse place. Just so they can get, like, super yachts and car elevators and Qatar jets. Yeah. But yeah. Appreciate the acknowledgement here that, yeah. Not all pirates are bad, and some leave it behind and become good. It was a little weird that they're telling that story in the midst of, like, a bunch of pirates doing evil. Because, like, 99% of the pirates we meet in this episode are doing evil. But yeah, appreciate the... Yeah, I guess the second half of this episode is also a bit woke-washy. Let's see. A good example would be something like the way that the Black Panther movies, acknowledge, there are some black people who do, wrong things. But then you've got all these other black people who are just, like, living their lives and trying to do good, That's how you do it. Yeah. I did briefly think that the Gangles were also supposed to have been, like, reformed, and when she's saying, we'll swoop in and get these ships before anybody notices, I thought she was going to be, like, later it would turn out, oh, they were going to pay for them. She just meant, like, what's the word, snipe? They were going to, yeah, win auction, really, really quickly, whatever. But no, the Gangles are up to no gain good. And yeah. Why do the Jedi keep falling for the net gun? Is someone writing the show just in love with the net gun? That felt unnecessary. But it does also get us to the kids not realizing Chig is, on their side still. Yeah, that was also like, really? You don't by now? But, again, it's for kids. I think that's fine. But yeah, when it comes to this kind of kids educational kind of television, I want the messages to be accurate and well communicated. I don't think it's like something we should go, nuclear on, that, this thing doesn't really work if you're not a kid. Yeah, it's made for kids. Yeah. And I did think, they do a really good job making it clear. No, Chick is not, kidding, because he immediately, as soon as he has a chance, gets their cups off, gives them back the lightsabers. So, yeah. That was slightly weird when it's Wes, and he's, Wes is like, my lightsaber, I knew. Once a pirate, always a pirate. And then he, Chick, like, the look on his face, and he raises the lightsaber, like, I get that the 6-year-olds are supposed to. I mean, wouldn't even a 6-year-old realize? Oh, he's gonna free him. This would be a really weird time for him to go against. Well, I guess okay. No, fair enough. It would be silly if it was with one of the three. The leads, but I guess with Wes, it's not as much because maybe he's offended by. Yeah. That I think also, I mean, it's maybe if Wes started being a little bit nicer, and then it was like, okay, well, if you're nice to, people, they'll be nice to you, kind of. I don't know, just the fact that he keeps being a jerk, and then, yeah, I don't, although that also, we don't want this thing of like, obviously, some people will be nice to you to manipulate you, and we also don't want to be sending a message of like, well, if someone isn't nice to you, you shouldn't save them. Yeah, I don't know. I think if he just hadn't had the line, if he had just been like, oh, you freed my friends and now you're here to free me, I mistook you, I misjudged you, something like that, but the fact that he's still judging him, I get that they're doing the repetition thing for kids to learn, as I mentioned earlier in this video, but yeah. I think that does get us nicely to, yeah, the why does she feel the need, the leader of the Gangles, to, who I believe is female, why do they feel the need to give the exact same speech? Like, did somebody accidentally copy paste part of the script or something? Because it's like, okay, these ships we're gonna steal, and we're gonna swoop it. Like, I don't know. It's possible there were a few words that were different, but yeah, that felt kind of weird. I get that you need something for the Jedi to like interrupt or something along those lines, but it could have been at least slightly different speech. Slightly more different speech. And then we have, one of the reasons that I am still watching this show. It was really cool, the whole zero grav thing. It did feel a little weird, like Nash isn't learning a message about being careful with the controls of the, so her accidentally firing when she didn't mean to felt a little weird as a, yeah. I didn't mean to pronounce weird the same way that I've heard Rachel Zegler do, although I do think, come on, get off her back. She's a slightly awkward, 20-something, and she, like, a lot of the stuff that people are like, oh, how could she say that about a Disney movie? Dude, that's literally what she's been told to say. She's promoting a movie. Of course she's going to say this movie is better than the other movie that is very similar to it, Like, I can imagine they probably didn't tell her to say weird. But, yeah, she's being slightly awkward. Yeah, I really hope at some point we appreciate that it's worse to purposefully do evil than it is to be awkward while trying to do good. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, the whole zero grav thing. Love the, you know, jumping between the different things and just, yeah, it was really, really cool. And you know, getting onto the ship, which is now below them, by like dropping down. Yeah, you know, this one of the things we love about Star Wars is this, you know, yeah, that kind of action that, yeah. I think that does cover everything. Um, yeah. I was there anything else? I feel like there's like there should be an outtake where, you know, Nubs gets to turn on the Grand Poobian Jedi Master lightsaber and like accidentally like cuts off like something that could be, you know, put back, like one of the arms of the David Tennant droid, Tenabot or something, and they're like, you know what? I'm still not sure you've learned your lesson.